there, we're here with Peggy Wright, the head of the Entrepreneurship program at Averett University, and she is on the spot. I'm going to start out with a hot topic question, Peggy.
Right. I like this.
Oh, good. All right, here we go. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to confront someone you care about? How did it go?
Oh, that's some thought. Probably my daughters. I am a single mom, and having to confront your daughters over things that you're maybe not happy with. And I looked at one of them one time. I said, always tell me what you do so that I can defend you in public. I said, behind closed doors is one thing, but I want to know what you're doing so that I can always defend you and support you.
Okay, good mom. Good mom tip. So, Peggy, you do a lot.
Yes.
And you've had quite an interesting journey to get to this position at Averett. Just walk us through some of the high points of your journey.
As I said, I've taught accounting almost all of these years, and then I went into administration. I've had several hats at Averett. I was a dean of the non-traditional program. Then I went into the chief financial officer of the university for about 8 years. And then when I came back into teaching, I had to kind of make a place for me. I still had accounting classes to teach, but I also started teaching the capstone course, which is our entrepreneurship course. It's called Entrepreneurship for Small Businesses, but they have to do a complete business plan in it. And in that business plan, my experiences with small businesses, I still actually work with a couple of small businesses. So I know the little things they need to know. I don't always know what the big corporations might need, but I know what they need in the small businesses. So when we started the Center for Entrepreneurship we wanted to start it about 3 years ago. I had already done some research and gone out and looked at what other universities did. And I knew there needed to be some gaps. And I knew there are times that people that want to start businesses don't know what to ask.
Right.
And they don't know where to start. And if you can just get them to talking to you, most of the time you can figure out where they need help and the things that they need to do. That's what my dream is for our students at Averett. We have a lot of first generation college students at Averett. And I think if we can see them begin to help other people, it builds their confidence and it lets them know they can have their own business at some point. So that's where we are right now. First, I was so excited to be able to come and talk to you. And then we're looking at doing some things this fall on campus that I think will be really good. Like we want to have like that 3-minute elevator pitch for those that just want to stand up and say, this is my idea. And so that they can get used to expressing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell me about this process of going from that one class that kind of focused on entrepreneurship to building out a program to support people who are interested in small business ownership.
It started out with just the class, and I reached out. I was trying. One of the things that higher education is trying to do now is to find ways to get students to apply what they're learning.
Right.
How can they apply it? How can we get them to have the experience going into the real world that shows the applications? Internships are good, but it doesn't teach them some of the things they need. So when we started this class, I reached out to business owners in Danville, trying to get them to come in and tell us what we can do to help your business. So I had one lady that they owned. She had what they called her the soap lady. So she had the soap lady, and then she came and we worked with her, and they were very honest with her. She didn't know how to talk to people. So this was still in my capstone course.
Okay.
And then we had another lady up in West Virginia that they had a hotel, and it was really struggling. And our students went out and researched and tried to find ways to help them expand. So those were the two. It's been a struggle since then to try to find businesses that would feel comfortable enough to come in and talk to us.
Right, because you're kind of, in a sense, airing your dirty laundry.
You are. You're airing, and we saw financial statements and everything on these. But the students nowadays, they have so much social media prowess, which I don't have. I don't know how to set up Instagram. But these kids can ring circles around us and they can do things. So what it has evolved into now, we also have, in addition to the competition class, we have a small business and entrepreneurship. Well, it's entrepreneurship and small business curriculum. We have an undergrad concentration, and we also have a master's concentration. So people that are interested in getting any formal education can have that. So that's where it evolved now. And then we hired John Vigaroo, who is the Chief Innovation Officer for Averett. And with that, we started trying to open the center. And I'd done research before he ever came, knowing what we needed to do, but I couldn't get anything to be adhesive. I couldn't get any stick to it. Mm-hmm. So now Dr. Franks is really pushing us to try to get everybody we can in. I've met with River District to try to get different businesses. I was trying to find, I guess I did what you call a gap analysis.
Right.
Because I couldn't find a gap where Averett students could fit in. So we have I jumped away from that. We have a competition class, and that's with Rise, Sova Rise.
Right, yes. Mm-hmm.
And we won it the first year. Our group won it the first year out and won that prize. We competed again last year, but we didn't place last year, which was a little disappointing because you put almost 8 months into this business that you're building with the students. And they have to do the feasibility, they have to do the business plan. So they are really well instructed for what they have to do when they're doing their business plan or working with businesses. But the idea is to have a place on Averett's campus where people can come in and sit down and relax and talk to students, that students can help them.
Right.
And it helps both. It shows students application. It shows them how to talk to people. That's one of the things I've learned this summer. You got to know what questions to ask in order to be able to help somebody. Because I've been working with somebody with an Excel project, and I would ask questions, and I had to just sit and listen. What can I figure out that she is asking me that I can help her with? So that's where we are right now. So we're at a point now where we're really trying to build a center. We're trying to get attention to the students. We want our students to have entrepreneurial skills. It doesn't matter whether they're going into their own business. They need to have entrepreneurial skills in a big business too. If they work for somebody else, those are skills that we feel the students themselves can share with other business owners.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big mistake or misconception, that if you have a focus on entrepreneurship, that you're taking away from, the traditional labor market. And really, it's an opportunity to make a more well-rounded person in the workforce.
Creative,
critical thinking, problem solving.
And the critical thinking is something we're facing in higher education now with Chat GPT and all this stuff that's coming on. Getting the students to take a situation and critically think through it is what is a challenge to higher education now. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at, like I said, the in-house competition, trying to get that. We have 6 businesses in the River District now that are going to be working with my capstone course this fall. So I'm really excited. I feel like we're making some moves that we've been trying to do for about 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship has become kind of a buzzword recently. And I think, again, with the rise of social media and people talking about entrepreneurship and showing entrepreneurship, people will tend to have a vision of it that is not necessarily based on reality. What are some of the things you're seeing and hearing from students as they come into your course and they have it all wrong based on what they're seeing out in the world?
One thing I wanted to say too, which you may remind me of, entrepreneurship's not just for business students. Mm-hmm. We want everybody. English, communications, art. There are so many different places that we could use an art student to help a company show whatever they want to do for some of their insignias or their business cards or whatever. Some of the things I'm seeing is, first of all, is the grimace they show when they have to write a 30, 40-page business plan. But what it does is it pulls everything they've learned together for 4 years. I push accounting really hard because I think one of the business mistakes I've seen is that people don't always know how to read financial statements. It's not just reading the financial statements, but what do they mean? What does revenue mean? What does expense need? What is that bottom line? I had one professor years ago, one of my fondest professors said, don't worry about the bottom line. Take care of everything above it, and the bottom line will take care of itself. And I've always remembered that and tried to think about that in small businesses. But a lot of the students forget the accounting. That's one of the biggest issues I see when they come in. We have accounting majors, but we don't have as many accounting majors as we may have as a marketing major. They know marketing. Most of them can figure out the marketing because they get on that social media and go to town with it. What I find is they struggle with the accounting side because they don't know what somebody needs to hire employees, what kind of I started to use an acronym, EIN numbers, employee
Right.
identification numbers. They don't know some of those little details that you have got to have, whether you're going to be an LLC or whether you're going to be a sole proprietor. Those are the things I have to work through with them, and I have to spend some time in the beginning saying, this is the things you've got to decide. And another thing, I talk to them about location.
Ooh,
Where are you going to
Right.
locate? Do you need foot traffic? Are you going to be able to have a business that you don't have to worry about foot traffic? I've seen businesses in Danville fail because they don't have foot traffic.
Right.
If you've got a business that's all online, I try to make them think of that whole thing. And another thing with environmental social consciousness now, they have to look at what the environmental impact is. And the environmental impact is not just whether you're green or not, but how many jobs are you going to supply? Those are things we talk about, and I push them really hard on. A lot of them don't think about those things.
Right.
So those are the things I see coming in.
Yes. So, here's my dirty little secret. And I talk about this in my book, The Hometown Hustle Guide. So I've operated a business, several businesses, but, this business, Rudy's Girl Media, since 2016. And I work from home. I use contract labor for the most part to produce projects. And it wasn't until 2022 that, I had a brick and mortar space. And I went through a business competition and a course that went along with that business competition. It was the first time that I had a fully formed business plan. I had bits and pieces. I'd actually helped people put together business plans. I never had a fully formed business plan until 2022. And going through that process made me the biggest advocate for people starting with a plan. And it has made a world of difference because there are things in your mental plan, no matter how well you feel like you have, generated these great ideas and you're really sure of those ideas. When you start to put things on paper, it reveals holes.
It does. All those gaps.
Right.
It does.
And part of developing this business plan, looking at your different streams of revenue. And so there were activities that I spent a lot of time on that did not have an outcome that would help me move forward. While there were other things that I never charged for, like referrals, that were great streams of income that I just completely missed. Doing that market research and real market research.
And feasibility studies.
Right.
Yeah, the market research is something they're usually pretty good at, but I make them start nationwide and look at what the growth is in the whatever division, whatever business they want in. I make them go out and look at that industry, and then I make them narrow it down and bring it in to wherever they're going to put their business. And they fight me a little bit on that, but I push back. You got to know your industry. You got to know where your competition is. It's interesting to hear you say that's your dirty little secret because just this morning when we sat down for the shooter training I was telling you about, one of my colleagues said, "Do you remember Joseph?" And he couldn't remember the last name. He said, "You had him in a business class," and he said, "You didn't like his business plan." And I said, "Well, what was it?" And I thought then that he remembered it was important to me. Because it was years ago. It'd been probably 5 or 6 years since I had him in class. And he talked about where I didn't like some of the things. But whether I like it or not is not the point.
Right.
It's getting that experience and making sure you know the areas to go. I think a business plan, to me, is one of the most important things somebody can sit down. Now, I'll have some people that argue with us on that and say, you don't need a business plan.
I would have argued with you before I had one.
I agree. But I've been in small businesses I've seen some very successful and some that were not. And what I see is it's like a budget to me.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me a place to measure. And it's like you said, there were areas that you didn't think about revenue streams. How are you going to expand your business? How are you going to do the social responsibility side? Another thing I found, a lot of people don't realize all of the regulatory issues you have. What kind of licenses do I have to have? What business am I going in? Do I have to have a license to sell alcohol? What are those issues? I've seen so many different business plans and so many different angles and things that if they really put the time in it, they learn it. And that's where business owners, I think, don't always know what they need.
Right. And for a lot of us, we're hopefully getting into businesses that we have a passion for. We're excited about this business, and we have some skills and experiences that lend well to doing the activities required for the business. But that doesn't make you a great business owner, because there's so many other elements to the day-to-day operation, the administrative tasks, which you might not be great at. QuickBooks.
I use that. I know QuickBooks.
So you think, wow, I'm going to open up this great production studio, and the equipment and the lights and the facility. And you think about those things, but you don't necessarily think about, is this zoned for this type of business?
Exactly. What kind of licenses do you need to have a studio?
What kind of insurance?
Right.
So these are all the questions. And that's why a business plan is a great opportunity to get those questions answered. And if you get pushed back from your instructor or whoever's looking, that's great, because now I want to prove to you my idea is valuable, and that I've put the time into the idea to make sure it's successful. And by doing that, then I strengthen the plan.
Absolutely.
So mission accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of them will go on to the businesses. And it was really funny. When they do a presentation at the end of the class, we bring in people like Dr. Franks has come in. We had a bank manager that came in, a bank president that came in. And the bank president was so impressed with one of the guys that made a business proposal about buying and reselling tennis shoes. He offered him $1,000 right there in the class to take his business farther. So
that's amazing.
I know, it's really exciting for me. Although a lot of people do this with tennis shoes.
Right, yeah.
But he actually had the offer. And I was like, okay. And those are some of the exciting things that I've had to happen. One of the things that I'm trying to get built at Averett is that we have resources people can use.
Right.
And is it going to be expert? No. But they're learning, and business owners are learning. And I think with the type of student we have at Averett, we could reach out to some of those people that might want to do those kind of things and really make a difference.
Right.
And that's my goal. My goal before I retire is to try to see if we can't get that Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation set up where people come and ask us those things. What kind of advice? You have a lot of large universities like UNC and Chapel Hill and University of Virginia. They have the entrepreneurship centers, but they almost have it set up where if a business starts there and develops, they kind of get a percentage on the money. That's not my goal. My goal is for us to showcase our students, to help people that want to start a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that level of partnership and investment in the community, because it only comes back.
It does.
You might not have a percentage of the company, but the economic impact of that business being successful just feeds back in. And those become ambassadors for Averett.
Yes.
When you're not having fun with entrepreneurship and innovation and mentoring students, what are you up to?
Not a bit. During the summer, I've found a place I rent down at Atlantic Beach for about 2.5 to 3 months. And I have 2 daughters. They both live down in North Carolina one daughter teaches at East Carolina. and she's a professor there. And then my oldest daughter works with the old tobacco company that used to be here used to be in Danville. She does ESG, she does FDA coordination. She's got about 3 or 4 quality control. So I try to get as much time with them as I can. Mm-hmm. I have 2 grandchildren that are 17 and 19. One's at Appalachian State. And then I have my daughter that teaches at East Carolina has a 4-year-old and an 11-year-old. So I had beach time with them this summer.
You've got a lot of good things going on with the family.
I do. And they're very important to me, and having that quality time is important. I used to work out. I don't do what I used to do. Used to be a runner. I like to read, but I'm a worker. I'm a workaholic. I'll be the first to admit to that. But that's how I have enjoyment. I love Averett. Averett has been a really good home for me. I did my last 2 years there. I went on to Virginia Tech and got a Master of Accountancy. And then after teaching for about 5 or 6 years, I went on and got my doctorate in accounting. So it's been a really good career for me. And I love it. So anything I can do to help. I was over talking to the 155 football players last night. So anytime I can do something like that helps Averett and helps the students, I love it. I like the kind of student we get there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all that you're pouring into the community, into Averett. Your energy is infectious. It's one of the things that I really enjoyed about our first meeting was that
yours was too.
Right away, we're just like, yes.
We were sitting beside each other judging. But that was one of the things that impressed me about you too. I see it, I feel it. I pulled up and looked at some of your podcast and things, and that's the kind of energy we need for small businesses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for being on the spot.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun.
Well, good. Come back.
I will. Bring some students.
Yeah.